Hello everybody, this is Soft Sound Whispers. I'm going to read to you today the next part of the book that I started to read to you, which is The Castle of Adventure by Enid Blyton. For this chapter or two, I'll be drinking some orange squash. It's quite a hot day today, and I think it's a little bit too hot for a cup of tea. Okay. Chapter 2. The boys come home and Kiki. That day and the morning of the next two, the girls spent in exploring their holiday home. It was certainly a tiny place, but just big enough for them. There was a large, old-fashioned kitchen and a tiny parlour. Above were 3 small bedrooms, one for Mother, one for you and me, Lucy-Anne, and one for the boys, said Dinah. Mother's going to do the cooking and we're all to help with the housework, which won't be much. Isn't our bedroom sweet? It was a little room tucked into the thatched roof with a window jutting out from the thatch. The walls slanted in a queer fashion, and the ceiling slanted too. The floor was very uneven, and the doorways were low, so that Dinah, who was growing tall, had to lower her head under one or two in case she bumped it. Spring Cottage, she said. It's a nice name for it, especially in the springtime. It's named because of the spring that runs down behind it, said her mother. The water starts somewhere up in the yard of the castle. I believe it runs down through a tunnel that is made for itself and gushes out just above the cottage at the back. It runs through the garden then and disappears down the hillside. The girls explored the spring. They found where it gushed out, and Dinah tasted the water. It was cold and crystal clear. She liked hearing the gurgling sound it made in the untidy little garden. She heard it all night long in her sleep and loved it. The view from the cottage was magnificent. They could see the whole of the valley below. They could follow too the winding road that led up to their cottage. Far away in the distance was the railway station, looking like a toy building. Twice a day a train came into it, and it too looked like a toy, just like the railway engine and carriages that Jack used to have, said Lucy-Anne, remembering, and how cross our old Uncle Geoffrey was when he used to set it going. He said it made more noise than a thunderstorm. Golly, I'm glad we don't live with him any more. Dinah looked at her watch. It's almost time to meet the train, she said. I bet the boys are feeling excited. Come on, let's find my mother. Mrs. Mannering was just about to go and get the car out. The girls packed themselves in beside her. Lucy-Anne felt terribly excited. She was so looking forward to being with Jack again, and with Philip too. It would be lovely to be all together once more. She did hope Dinah wouldn't fly into one of her tempers too soon. She and Philip quarrelled far too much. They arrived at the little station. The train was not yet signalled. Lucy-Anne walked up and down, longing to see the signal go down, and then, with an alarming clank, it did go down. Almost at the same moment the smoke of the train appeared, and then, round the corner, came the engine, puffing vigorously, for it was uphill to the station. Both the boys were hanging out of the window, waving and shouting. The girls screamed greetings and capered about in delight. There's Kiki, shouted Lucy-Anne. Kiki, good old Kiki. With a screech, Kiki flew off of Jack's shoulder and landed on Lucy-Anne's. She rubbed her beak against the little girl's cheek and made a curious cracking noise. She was delighted to see her. The boys jumped out of the carriage. Jack rushed to Lucy-Anne and gave her a hug, which the little girl returned, her eyes shining. Kiki gave another screech and flew back onto Jack's shoulder. Wipe your feet, she said sternly to the startled porter. And where's your handkerchief? Philip grinned at his sister Dinah. Hello, old thing, he said. You've grown. Good thing I have too, or you'd be as tall as I am. Hello, Lucienne, you haven't grown. Been a good girl at school? Don't talk like a grown-up, said Dinah. Mother's outside in the car. Come and see her. The porter took their trunks on his barrow and followed the four excited children. Kiki flew down the barrow and looked at him with bright eyes. How many times have I told you to shut the door? She said. The porter dropped the handles of the barrow in alarm. He didn't know whether to answer this extraordinary bird or not. Kiki gave a laugh just like Jack's, and flew out to the car. She joined the others and tried to get onto Mrs. Mannering's shoulder. She liked Dinah's mother very much. Attention, please, said Kiki sternly. Open your books at page 6. Everybody laughed. She got that one from the masters, said Jack. Oh, Aunt Hallie, she was so funny on the train. She put her head out of the window at every station and said, right away there, just as she had heard the guard say, and you should have seen the engine driver's face. It's lovely to have you back, said Lucienne, keeping close to Jack. She adored her brother, though she didn't really take a great deal of notice of her. They all got into the car, and the porter shoved the luggage in somehow, keeping a sharp eye on Kiki. Please shut the door, she said, and went off into one of her never-ending giggles. Shut up, Kiki, said Jack, seeing the porter's startled face. Behave yourself, or I'll send you back to school. Oh, you naughty boy, said Kiki. Oh, you naughty, naughty, naughty. I'll put an elastic band around your beak if you dare say another word, said Jack. Can't you see I want to talk to Aunt Hallie? Jack and Lucienne called Mrs. Mannering Aunt Hallie, because Mrs. Mannering seemed too stiff and standoffish. She liked both children very much, but especially Lucienne, who was far more gentle and affectionate than Dinah had ever been. I say, this looks exciting country, said Philip, looking out of the car windows. Plenty of birds here for you, Freckles, and plenty of animals for me. Where's that brown rat you had this term? Said Jack, with a mischievous glance at Dinah. She gave a squeal at once. Philip began to feel about in his pockets, diving into first one and then another, whilst Dinah watched him in horror, expecting to see a brown rat appear at any moment. Mother, stop the car and let me walk, begged Dinah. Philip's got a rat somewhere on him. Here he is. No, it's my hanky, said Philip. Ah, what's this? No, that's not him. Now, here we are. He pretended to be trying to get something out of his pocket with great difficulty. Ah, you'd bite, wouldn't you? Dinah squealed again, and her mother stopped the car. Dinah fumbled at the door handle. No, you stay in, Dinah, said her mother. Philip, you get out, and the rat too. I quite agree with Dinah. There are to be no rats running all over us. So you can get out and walk, Philip. Well, Mother, as a matter of fact, I've left the rat behind at school, said Philip, with a grin. I was just teasing Dinah, that's all. Beast, said Dinah. I thought you were, said his mother, driving on again. Well, you nearly had to walk home, so just be careful. I don't mind any of your creatures myself, except rats or snakes. Now, what do you think of Spring Cottage? The boys liked it just as much as the girls did, but it was the strange old castle that really took their fancy. Dinah forgot to sulk as she pointed it out to the boys. We'll go up there, said Jack at once. I think not, said Mrs. Mannering. I've just explained to the girls that it's dangerous up there. Oh, but why? Asked Jack, disappointed. Well, there's been a landslide on the road for one, and no one dares to set foot on it now, said Mrs. Mannering. I did hear that the whole castle is slipping a bit and might collapse if the road crumbles much more. It sounds very exciting, said Philip, his eyes gleaming. They went indoors, and the girls showed them their room up on the roof. Lucienne was so delighted to be back with Jack that she could hardly leave him for a minute. He was very like her, with deep red hair, green eyes, and hundreds of freckles. He was a very naturally kindly boy, and most people liked him at once. Philip, whom Jack often called Tufty, was very like his sister too, but much more even-tempered. He had the same unruly lock of hair in front, and even their mother had this, so that Jack often referred to them as the three Tufties. The boys were older than the two girls, and very good friends indeed. Holidays at last, said Philip, undoing his trunk. Dinah watched him from the safe distance. Got any creatures in there? She said. Only a baby hedgehog, and you needn't worry, he's got no fleas, said Philip. I bet he has, said Dinah, moving a few steps back. I shan't forget that hedgehog that you found last summer. I tell you, this baby one hasn't got any fleas at all, said Philip. I got some stuff from the chemist and powdered him. I powdered him well, and he's as clean as can be. His spines haven't turned brown yet. The girls looked with interest as Philip showed them the tiny prickly ball rolled up in his jerseys in the trunk. It uncurled a little and showed a tiny snout. He's sweet, said Lucienne, and even Dinah didn't mind him. The only snag about him is he's going to be awfully prickly to carry about with me, said Philip, putting the tiny thing into his shorts pocket. You'll probably stop carrying him about when you've sat on him once or twice, said Dinah. I probably shall, said Philip. And just see you don't annoy me too much, Di, for he'd be a marvellous thing to put in your bed. Shut up bickering, you two, and let's go out and explore, said Jack. Lucienne says there's a spring in the garden that comes all the way down from the castle. I'm king of the castle, said Kiki, swaying gently to and fro on top of the dressing table. Pop goes the weasel. You're getting a bit mixed up, said Jack. Come on, we'll all go. So that's the end of chapter 2. And I think that's also where I'm going to stop today. So join me tomorrow for chapter 3.